In the heart of India, beneath the shadow of a lamp, lies a story of spiritual and social revolution. Swami Vivekananda's final days at the Belur monastery were marked by profound reflections, challenging criticisms, and unwavering dedication. As he faced illness and criticism, his vision for a reformed India remained unshaken. Discover how his last years were a testament to his enduring spirit and commitment to both spiritual and social transformation. Welcome back to our series on the life of Swami Vivekananda. In this episode, we explore the final period of his life at the Belur monastery, where he grappled with illness and faced local criticism. Despite these challenges, Swami Vivekananda's spirit remained resilient. We'll delve into his interactions with foreign dignitaries, his reflections on marriage and monasticism, and his deep compassion for the marginalized. Join us as we uncover the rich tapestry of his final days and his enduring legacy. It is said that the spot immediately beneath a lamp is dark. And so it was that the orthodox people of the neighboring villages hardly understood the ideas and ideals of the Belur Mutt. The monks there did not, in all respects, lead the life of orthodox sannyasins. Devotees from abroad frequented the monastery. In matters of food and dress, the inmates were liberal. Thus they became the butt of criticism. The villagers invented scandals about them, and the passengers on the boats passing along the Ganga would point out the monastery with an accusing finger. When the Swami heard all this, he said, "That is good. It is a law of nature. That is the way with all founders of religion. Without persecution, superior ideas cannot penetrate into the heart of society." But the criticism of the neighbors in time gave place to pride in having in their midst so many saintly souls. Many distinguished Indians used to visit the Swami at this time. With some of them, he discussed the idea of founding a Vedic institution for the promotion of the ancient Aryan culture and the knowledge of Sanskrit. This was one of the Swami's favorite thoughts, on which he dwelt even on the last day of his life on earth. Towards the end of 1901, two learned Buddhists from Japan came to the Belur Mutt to induce the Swami to attend a Congress of Religions that was being contemplated in Japan at that time. One of them was the famous artist and art critic Okakura, and the other, Oda, the head priest of a Buddhist temple. The Swami became particularly fond of Okakura and said, "We are two brothers who meet again, having come from the ends of the earth." Though pressed by the visitors, he could not accept the invitation to go to Japan, partly because of his failing health and partly because he was skeptical that the Japanese would appreciate the monastic ideal of the non-dualistic Vedanta. In a letter to a Western lady written in June 1902, the Swami made the following interesting observation about the connection between the monastic ideal and fidelity in married life. "In my opinion, a race must first cultivate a great respect for motherhood through the sanctification and inviolability of marriage before it can attain to the ideal of perfect chastity. The Roman Catholics and the Hindus, holding marriage sacred and inviolate, have produced great chaste men and women of immense power. To the Arab, marriage is a contract or a forceful possession, to be dissolved at will, and we do not find there the development of the idea of the virgin of the brahmacharin. Modern Buddhism, having fallen among races who had not yet come up to the evolution of marriage, has made a travesty of monasticism. So until there is developed in Japan a great and sacred ideal about marriage, apart from mutual attraction and love, I do not see how there can be great monks and nuns. As you have come to see that the glory of life is chastity, so my eyes also have been opened to the necessity of this great sanctification for the vast majority, in order that a few lifelong chaste powers may be produced." The Swami used to say that absolute loyalty and devotion between husbands and wives for 3 successive generations find their expression in the birth of an ideal monk. Okakura earnestly requested the Swami to accompany him on a visit to Bodh Gaya, where Buddha had attained illumination. Taking advantage of several weeks' respite from his ailment, the Swami accepted the invitation. He also desired to see Varanasi. The trip lasted through January and February 1902 and was a fitting end to all his wanderings. He arrived at Bodh Gaya on the morning of his last birthday and was received with genuine courtesy and hospitality by the Orthodox Hindu monk in charge of the temple. This and the similar respect and affection shown by the priests in Varanasi proved the extent of his influence over men's hearts. It may be remembered that Bodh Gaya had been the first of the holy places he had visited during Sri Ramakrishna's lifetime. And some years later, when he was still an unknown monk, he had said farewell to Varanasi with the words, "Till that day when I fall on society like a thunderbolt, I shall visit this place no more." In Varanasi, the Swami was offered a sum of money by Maharaja to establish a monastery there. He accepted the offer and, on his return to Kolkata, sent Swami Shivananda to organize the work. Even before Swami Vivekananda's visit to Varanasi, several young men, under the Swami's inspiration, had started a small organization for the purpose of providing destitute pilgrims with food, shelter, and medical aid. Delighted with their unselfish spirit, the Swami said to them, "You have the true spirit, my boys, and you will always have my love and blessings. Go on bravely, never mind your poverty. Money will come. A great thing will grow out of it, surpassing your fondest hopes." The Swami wrote the appeal, which was published with the first report of the Ramakrishna Home of Service, as the institution came to be called. In later years, it became the premier institution of its kind, started by the Ramakrishna Mission. The Swami returned from Varanasi. But hardly had he arrived at Belur when his illness showed signs of aggravation in the damp air of Bengal. During the last year and a half of his life, he was off and on, under the strict supervision of his physicians. Diabetes took the form of dropsy. His feet swelled and certain parts of his body became hypersensitive. He could hardly close his eyes in sleep. A native physician made him follow a very strict regime. He had to avoid water and salt. For 21 days he did not allow a drop of water to pass through his throat. To a disciple he said, "The body is only a tool of the mind. What the mind dictates, the body will have to obey. Now I do not even think of water. I do not miss it at all. I see I can do anything." Though his body was subjected to a devitalizing illness, his mind retained its usual vigor. During this period, he was seen reading the newly published Encyclopaedia Britannica. One of his householder disciples remarked that it was difficult to master these 25 volumes in one life. But the Swami had already finished 10 volumes and was busy reading the 11th. He told the disciple to ask him any question from the 10 volumes he had read. And to the latter's utter amazement, the Swami not only displayed his knowledge of many technical subjects, but even quoted the language of the book here and there. He explained to the disciple that there was nothing miraculous about it. A man who observed strict chastity in thought and action, he declared, could develop the retentive power of the mind and reproduce exactly what he had heard or read but once, even years before. The regeneration of India was the ever-recurring theme of the Swami's thought. Two of the projects dear to his heart were the establishment of a Vedic college and a convent for women. The latter was to be started on the bank of the Ganga under the direction of the Holy Mother and was to be completely separated from the Belur monastery. The teachers trained in the convent were to take charge of the education of Indian women along national lines. But the Swami's heart always went out in sympathy for the poor and neglected masses. During the later part of 1901, a number of Santhal labourers were engaged in levelling the grounds about the monastery. They were poor and outside the pale of society. The Swami felt an especial joy in talking to them and listened to the accounts of their misery with great compassion. One day he arranged a feast for them and served them with delicacies that they had never before tasted. Then, when the meal was finished, the Swami said to them, "You are Narayanas. Today I have entertained the Lord himself by feeding you." He said to a disciple, "I actually saw God in them. How guileless they are. Afterwards, he said, addressing the inmates of the Belur Mut, "See how simple-hearted these poor illiterate people are. Will you be able to relieve their miseries, to some extent at least? Otherwise, of what use is our wearing the ochre robe of the sannyasin? To be able to sacrifice everything for the good of others is real monasticism. Sometimes I think within myself, what is the good of building monasteries and so forth? Why not sell them and distribute the money among the poor, indigent Narayanas? What homes should we care for, we who have made the tree our shelter? Alas, how can we have the heart to put a morsel into our mouths when our countrymen have not enough wherewith to feed or clothe themselves? Mother, shall there be no redress for them? One of the purposes of my going out to preach religion to the West, as you know, was to see if I could find any means of providing for the people of my country. Seeing their poverty and distress, I think sometimes, let us throw away all the paraphernalia of worship, blowing the conch and ringing the bell and waving the lights before the image. Let us throw away all pride of learning and study of the scriptures and all spiritual disciplines for the attainment of personal liberation. Let us go from village to village, devoting ourselves to the service of the poor. Let us, through the force of our character and spirituality and our austere living, convince the rich about their duties to the masses, and get money and the means wherewith to serve the poor and the distressed. Alas, nobody in our country thinks for the low, the poor, the miserable, those who are the backbone of the nation, whose labor produces food, those whose one day's absence from work raises a cry of general distress in the city. Where is the man in our country who sympathizes with them, who shares in their joys and sorrows? Look how, for want of sympathy on the part of the Hindus, thousands of pariahs are becoming Christians in the Madras presidency. Don't think that it is merely the pinch of hunger that drives them to embrace Christianity. It is simply because they do not get your sympathy. You are continually telling them, "Don't touch me. Don't touch this or that." Is here any fellow feeling or sense of Dharma left in the country? There is only "don't touchism" now. Kick out all such degrading usages. How I wish to abolish the barriers of "don't touchism" and go out and bring together one and all, crying, "Come, all ye that are poor and destitute, fallen and downtrodden. We are one in the name of Ramakrishna. Unless they are elevated, the great Mother India will never awake. What are we good for if we cannot provide facilities for their food and clothing? Alas, they are ignorant of the ways of the world, and hence fail to eke out a living, though laboring hard day and night for it. Gather all your forces together to remove the veil from their eyes. What I see clear as daylight is that the same Brahman, the same Shakti, is in them as in me. Only there is a difference in the degree of manifestation, that is all. Have you ever seen a country in the whole history of the world rise unless there was a uniform circulation of the national blood all over the body? Know for certain that not much can be done with that body, one limb of which is paralyzed, even though the other limbs are healthy. In our next episode, we will delve into Swami Vivekananda's leadership at the Belur Monastery during his final days. Witness how he maintained discipline, inspired his disciples, and infused every moment with his visionary spirit. Join us as we uncover the remarkable ways Swami Vivekananda continued to shape the lives around him, even amidst his own struggles. Thank you for listening till the end. Please subscribe, turn on the notifications, like, comment, and share with your friends. This will help more listeners to discover our channel and content.